So, good evening, and thank you for the possibility to present my research on archaeometallurgy. In the beginning, I will show you some slides about my laboratory, and in the second phase of my talk, I will give you a case study on the Bronze Age metal exchange networks. At the University of Vienna in the Franz Kleingasse, I'm doing archaeometallurgy on metals, and that's also the reason why I have a very broad field of interest, broad field of research on copper, bronze, precious metals. Because you all know metals, we find metals from the very copper age to the medieval age, and they are an important material. To analyze all this stuff, I have a metallographic laboratory in the Franz Kleingasse. It's a fully equipped lab where you then can do cross sections, and you can of course then document all the microstructures. In the basement of our building, I'm running another analytical lab with a scanning electron microscope. It's a so-called environmental SEM. So you can bring in organic samples, and additionally for my analysis, I have a handheld XIF with which you can do on-site analysis during, for example, an excavation. Here, just to give you an impression, this was our most prestigious project on the gold hoards from Nosh and Miklos. Birgit has already shown some pictures of it, and the question was to analyze the material and also to examine if there are certain technological connections. And for that purpose, we brought this gold hoard to the laboratory, and as you see, it was a little tricky to bring in all the vessels in the SEM, but it worked. And you can estimate that you can also bring in, for example, a human skull to analyze the bones or whatsoever. And these analyses resulted then in toolmark analysis, documenting toolmark analysis and chemical analysis. And with this, we were able to define certain groups. And this was then also already published in a very nice book by Falkodaim. Another topic I was working during the last year was the Çukurdiçi Höyük on early Bronze Age metallurgy in Western Turkey. Barbara is also here, as I see, and it is her project, which supported this research with all kind of we needed. I'm very happy that it's already published now, and it's also very nice. This is the first book with the first monograph with a HEAS affiliation. So, but now let's come to the FF project, which I want to talk about. It's together with my colleague Mario Gavranovic from the Austrian Academy of Science. And we were focusing on the Western and Central Balkans during the Bronze Age to find out if how the metal exchange was organized there, because until we started the project, there was not much research done. Everybody believed that the local copper sources, the local ore deposits here in Bosnia or in Eastern Serbia, that they provided the copper for all the rich metal deposits we find in this region. And there was local smelting, local mining, local exploitation, and in that case also local production of the metal. But as you will see later on, this picture, these ideas, they have to be rewritten. We have some, of course, within this project, we had very many questions on the use of copper, how it was mined, how was it smelted, how was the ore processed, how was the copper traded, and how was it used, what was the quality of the copper. So there are a big bunch of questions which were applied on these metals, on these slags, on these ores. We were able to collect in the various museums. So, and what's very interesting, just go to the results. During the early Bronze Age, we still have a local copper smelting, a local copper production technology, which is in that case situated in Eastern Serbia. And what's very interesting from a metallurgical point of view, that this is already an early chalcopyrite smelting process, which meaning sulfidic ores were already smelted around 1800 BC, which is contemporary to the Eastern Alpine region. And here in the lead isotope analysis, which we also did, you see that this local deposits, they were used, and also local metal types were produced. But what's very interesting, we see already a new input of new material, and this is in that case metal from northern Italy, which is several hundred kilometers away. But this is already published in that case Journal of Archaeological Science and can be detailedly written there. We also went for the late Bronze Age because we wanted to know what's going on in this time period. And again, for that, we took very, very many samples to get a big, broad overview and a solid database where we can put on our analysis. So now should come the next slide. But I will continue to talk, and you will see in the next slide, you will see a lead isotope analysis again. And what is marked with 1 are again the copper ore deposits in the Trentino in northern Tyrol, northern Italy. And you see all the red dots. These are the metal artifacts we analyzed from Balkans, and the nearby all are situated in the isotope diagrams over here, which means more or less all late Bronze Age copper metal comes from the Trentino to the Western and Central Balkans. There are few objects also come from Central Austria, from the Mitterberg, and this was most probably traded down the various river routes, which would be in that case, for example, the Danube. But what's very interesting, and also I have to come to an end, that again, the Trentino supplies metal for all Italy, for all the Western Balkan, and even down to Greece, we find metal from this northern Italian mining region, which gives us a very, very good insight how far these metal exchange networks can reach. And here I have already, I'm already at the end of my talk, and just want to conclude it that in the early and middle Bronze Age, we have still this local production, but from the middle Bronze Age, it's completely different, and the southeastern Alpine copper ore deposits are the dominant metal in all over the Western Balkans. So globalization, just to throw also this word in, already starts in the Bronze Age. This is not the first time we hear that, but it's again an evidence that we see very, very far-reaching connections already during that time. So now I'm finished, and I thank you for your attention.